Hello and welcome to another video episode, depending on whether you are watching or listening to this. So, I feel like it's been a while since I've done a wander out in the woods for a vlog and just share my thoughts. I mean, we've been digging into my support core with Ace over the past month or so, and you're probably sick and tired of hearing all about that. You're probably sick of hearing about marketing and pricing and everything else. It's a vital part of our business, but I feel like it's time to get back to the basics and the stuff we love, the actual teaching. So for today I thought talk a little bit about tailoring your session to the ages and abilities of your learners. And I tend to work with quite a broad spectrum of ages and abilities, right through from 4 years old up until adult, and sometimes a little bit younger. But I feel like the activities I do are pretty similar. I basically teach the same stuff. I just shift the audience that I'm pitching it to, and shift the level and modify little bits and pieces, all to make it work, to help participants achieve, help them to stretch towards goals, to develop resilience, to develop confidence. It's all the same activities. It's all has its fundamental roots in bushcraft and being outside. So it doesn't really change what I do. So it's those little shifts and tweaks that I wanted to talk about today. We'll talk about a few different ways that you can adapt your activities. Whenever I put an activity out on YouTube, I usually describe ways in which you can modify it to make it easier or harder. And this is just become a natural part of my life. I mean, back in my school days, I used to call it differentiation. Is probably a different buzzword for that by now. All it means is just tailoring things as much as you can to the individual level. So, starting right off, first way to change it is to change the hook. And now this is a critical part of it all. How you introduce an activity is going to be a big factor in the success. And I know one or two leaders out there that pitch their hook of their sessions the same way to every group they work with. So they'll talk the same way to a group of adults as they do to a group of children. And that can cause problems. That can shoot your session in the foot before it's even had a chance to get off the ground. So you've got to be careful. There's some children, younger children, you may well introduce it through a story or an elaborate play or something like that, and relate it back to something they've been thinking about or enjoying or working on with somewhat older kids. And this is really my area that I love working with. You can be a lot more straightforward with it and kind of go, okay. And you can phrase it as a challenge and just go, okay, we're doing this. This is the way the skills come from. Anything else. With adults, you can go deeper into the understanding element. And this will help you understand this. This will help you move forward with this, and so on. So how you get that initial hook is one of the key ways you can tailor your sessions. So think carefully about what motivates your target audience. Think carefully about the tone you use. Think about how you're going to introduce it. Now everyone, we are going to learn about this beautiful woodland. Is not necessarily the best way to approach talking to a group of adult men. So think about carefully about your phrasing and everything else. Okay, so moving on to more nuts and bolts. So when we are looking at the activities themselves, the first way we can tailor it is outcomes. Simply put, if we expect different outcomes from different ages and abilities, then we can have we've effectively tailored it. So example of this would be really simple, would be, okay, well, if we're working with older kids, the activity could be getting a fire going with all the resources. For younger ones, it might simply be making sparks with fire steel. Though this does cause its own challenges, because in that example we can see that the younger children aren't achieving something really meaningful and concrete. They might get a little bit excited about sparks, but next to the concept of creating a whole fire, it's not nearly as exciting, it's not nearly as tangible. And we don't want to just say something like, okay, you go over there and I want you to make a fire lay, make a beautiful fire lay, and then we'll put some tissue paper flames on it and we'll call it a day. That's not really exciting and motivating as, okay, once you've made sparks, I'm going to help you get those sparks into it. So be careful when you are deciding what the outcome should be. If you've decided to keep outcome the same, another way you can change things up is simply the number of people you throw at it and the pairings that you choose for this. So for an advanced learner, making a fire on their own might be a challenge. For an intermediate, making it as part of a pair might be the appropriate level of challenge. For a beginner, making it part of a group and making sure there's someone in there who is more advanced and who can teach them and help them on the path, that might be even better. So think about your groupings. Sometimes I'll know that a particular person is weak in that area, and I'll try and pair them up with an adult or with someone who is good at teaching, someone who isn't going to take over immediately and say we do things this way, but instead is going to help scaffold that learner forward. If you then can't really move forward with just adding or increasing the number of people that go at a particular thing, maybe you need to change the type of tool they're using or the way that they're approaching it. So fire lighting is a classic example of this. The easiest way to light a fire might well be with one of those a kind of long-nosed lighters, those safety lighters. Secondary to that might be fire steel. If they're really confident with fire steel, then move them on to different tinders. If they're comfortable with different tinders, give them a flint and steel, give them a bow drill set. Think about the tool that you can use that is appropriate to their level. Example of this might be a blunt nosed knife. It removes some of the danger from a point, but still allows people to achieve most beginner carving tasks. Obviously, point on a knife is needed when you start working on finer bits, but just starting off, peeling bark from a stick, you don't really need that point there. It's probably not a good point to get into potato peelers, but if that's your thing, then that might be an appropriate way to change the tool. Of course, we can change the environment as well within that. So if we are doing something with a saw, it's a lot easier to use a sawhorse. If we are working with advanced learners, we can be working differently with that saw. We can say have it on a stump where they have to hold it in place more. There's certain ways we can change the environment and the way that we use the tools. So once the idea is to keep on going through this list and thinking, okay, what are ways I can shift and tweak it? Can I introduce a resource? Can I maybe even reduce the amount of time? Say, okay, you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour to get it done. Add some time pressure, add levels of difficulty. Go, you can only use this type of material in this way. We already covered that with fire lighting. You must use a flint and steel to get your fire started, or you must use a certain piece of birch bark, or a certain type of fire lay, or you're not allowed to use any regular materials, any man-made materials. So for shelter building, if they're really confident putting up tarp shelters, give them a tarp, but don't give them any cordage. Tell them they need to go and find the resources to make it work with the stuff around you. There's ways to shift the level and make sure that every session is achievable, stretches, and is exciting and interesting. So there's really no excuse for creating subpar sessions and just trying to shoe in an activity that might have been fun for a 3-year-old and run it exactly the same way for a group of adults. There might be advantages to doing that, but think carefully about the trade-offs that you are making within that. I hope you found that helpful. Do let me know how you modify it. Do you have any structures for tailoring your planning to different ages and abilities? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And remember, if you are looking to build those skills to be able to scaffold learning further up with tops and knots, then do check out my online tops and knots course. There's a link to it in the description. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember to make the most of every day, and I'll see you all next time.